Hello, everybody, and welcome to our review of Crazy Rich Asians, which is opening a little bit early this week in theaters everywhere. I'm here, as always, with Roth Cornet.
Dan, hello. It's good to be here talking about this movie. This is one that we have been anticipating and talking about for the last few months, particularly as it will impact the box office, and it's a space that is not really filled these days, which is the rom-com. And this is it cannot be underscored enough how culturally significant this movie is. And it is also something that we don't see much anymore, as mentioned, a romantic comedy. This is a very frothy, very lush movie with beautiful characters and scenery, and it's very much wish/fantasy fulfillment because boy, are they crazy rich. They are so rich.
Yeah, rom-coms are generally very much wish fulfillment, I think, on both sides. I think that generally the lead male and the lead female characters always lead lives or are people that people watch and go like, I wish I was that person. Oh my God, this is like the most wish fulfillment ever. Like, they're not just, they are crazy rich. Like, and it's wealthy. It's not just rich. It is wealth. It is wealth.
Profound wealth. It's a wealth for which most of us could scarcely imagine. It really truly is as if you were watching sort of the fantasy that is Entourage, meshed with the lifestyles of the rich and famous and Fantasy Island, all rolled into one in this gorgeous landscape.
There was a point about 30 or 45 minutes in the movie
America's Next Top Model.
Oh, yes. Yes. There's a point early in the movie about 30 or 45 minutes in where I actually started to get a little worried because as they're laying out all of this opulence and everything, like I was approaching the point is like, how do I sympathize or empathize with these characters? Because it is so kind of unimaginable the amount of poshness and excess and amenities that they have that this family and by extension their friends and family have available to them. The movie smartly, though, after it sort of sets the table there, pulls back and focuses on the characters, which I think is a smart idea for the movie, because as you're sort of meeting all of these different family members and you see just the wealth and the excess, there is a point early on where I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to relate to their problems because they're sort of painting them as this just opulent, but
it's a first class plus life. It's a life in which $1 million earrings are a reality for anyone, you know, which for us, it sounds almost like that's a made up joke, right? But in this world, they managed to make the person actually who is the buyer of said earrings, that's not a spoiler, by the way, quite sympathetic, surprisingly. And this is also one of the more beautiful women in the film. So that's actually, I thought, a trick of both the direction and the writing in the film, because normally the big key to rom-coms working is, sure, there has to be chemistry between the lovers.
Yes.
Sorry for the use of that word. But really what it actually rests on is the likability and the relatability of the female lead. That's it. That is the most important thing in a rom-com. That's why back when they were very, very popular, they kept reusing the same female leads. It was always Meg Ryan or someone that you really, really liked and felt like could be your friend. And they make Rachel in this movie, who is our lead, very likable. And she's relatable because she didn't grow up in this opulence and wealth.
This movie is cast really well. Constance Wu and Henry Golding as the lead couple are very well matched, and you're right. The movie in large part depends on their chemistry, and they do have good chemistry together. And what I liked about this film, and I think where its strengths lied, was where they take the two characters. You have the very affluent male lead, you have the female lead who is not from affluence, and what they did was they took that and they embraced the cultural heritage and the roots of their characters, particularly for Chinese Americans, and even sort of looked at the differences between people who are of Chinese heritage raised in China and people of Chinese heritage raised in America,
and even in Singapore, or the UK. He was in a boarding school in the UK. So I thought that was a fascinating element.
And they used that as kind of an entry point for the audience to see how even within what a lot of people view broadly as the same culture, there are still cultural differences based on upbringing, based on background. And that's really where the strength in this movie really hit home for me. Michelle Yeoh, I thought, was very good as
Nick's mother,
who was very, as moms are, as parents generally are in these films, very kind of suspicious and feeling out this new, love interest that her son has brought home.
Yeah, and I think that the difference here, this for me feels like in some respects a very standard rom-com, right? But it's a standard rom-com with flourishes that are born of the cultural specificity like you're discussing. And she's not a foreboding, mean, cruel mother for its own sake, which would have been really boring to watch. But because she, is protective of her son because he does come from this vast opulence and she doesn't, and it would be natural to assume that there would be people in the world that would be interested in your child for those reasons. And you probably would be having to guard your children against that for a number of years.
Yeah.
That's A. And then two is because she does come from this background of family having a certain meaning and significance that she worries that Rachel, with her more American background, will not adhere to the degree that she thinks her son will not want but need as he takes on the mantle of the family fortune.
And that's the core of the story, and I think that's what works really well in this movie, is when it kind of focuses on the interplay between that trio of characters. The things that didn't work as well in the movie for me were, I could sort of tell that this was adapted from a book, in the sense that sometimes when you get an adaptation of a book that's a very popular book, when you take that and put it into a movie, a lot of times there are things that are brought over that I'm sure make sense in the book, but seem a little extraneous in the movie. And I felt that way about a couple of plot lines in this film, and even a couple of times where we already have a central conflict that is very poignant to the story, and another conflict is brought in at one point in the story that seems superfluous. I'm sure that was a plot point probably in the source material, as well as some of these characters, and side plots were parts of the book that when you're adapting, it's such a hard job, because if you leave stuff out, people complain about, oh, you cut this, you cut that, you didn't leave this part, and this is my favorite character, this is my favorite story. But a lot of times if you keep too much in, the movie feels a little heavy. Crazy Rich Asians felt a little heavy for me, in the sense that I thought that there was some extraneous, heavy on plot. Yeah. I thought there was some extraneous material that could have been cut, and the movie itself would have actually been better and more focused for that. But I think that's a peril of adaptation. And as I mentioned before, I think that the interplay between the leads and the core story is strong enough that it kind of bore out. It didn't get lost in the shuffle for me. I
think compliments to John Chu, the director, is that he really understands the tone of the film that he's making, and he really understands the visual palette that it needs. And I think he even elevates that. And I feel like what this movie is what it needs to be. It's a vision into a world that few of us will ever see with our own eyes. I don't think that I will ever know people this wealthy, or see a wedding that is upwards of $15 million to produce.
It's insane.
It's insanity. I mean, as much as I would never hang out with, Turtle and gang from Entourage, this will not be. So it's this peek into a world, but it also is told through the eyes of a woman that I can relate with, and I can root for. That's very important to the genre. It's a genre that is largely being revitalized by Netflix at the moment, but we don't see much in theaters. So I welcome that in theaters. I think it's fun to watch. I like the characters. Awkwafina, who plays one of the support characters in the film, I think delivers a tremendous performance. People are comparing it a bit to Tiffany Haddish's breakout performance in Girls Trip last year. I think she was very, very funny and a key element to the success of the film overall.
She and Warner Brothers have had a great summer. Yeah. She was a standout supporting player in Ocean's 8 earlier this summer, now a standout supporting player in this film.
Yeah, so watch that rising star. I would recommend this movie. I think that I would say that given that you understand the movie that you're going to see.
Yeah.
And so in addition to it occupying a space that has largely been empty in the rom-com, it really is significant in terms of the cast of this film and the worlds that it's portraying. And I hope that it opens up doorways so that we can all go and enjoy films that open up the door to a different culture. Even if it's the same story, it's told through the lens of a different culture, and that actually does refresh the genre for me. It does change the dynamics and the relationships in a way that is very specific to those relationships and those cultures. So I do think it has a lot to offer, and I think the actors are really well cast and very engaging. Just walk away knowing you're going to feel a little less attractive than anyone.
It's going to make you feel poor and ugly, but you're still going to like it.
Yeah, you know what? Thank you, Dan. It's going to make you feel poor and ugly, but you're still going to enjoy it.
Put that on the poster.
That's our poll quote. You'll feel poor and ugly, but you'll like the ride. It's a really good ride, and I think that, again, Rachel, for me, Constance, is the key to us walking away feeling okay, because the wish fulfillment is really that. By the way, she's extraordinarily beautiful too, in a not normal way. But the wish fulfillment element is that a normal Joe like ourselves maybe one day could touch these deities.
Exactly. I could reach up and touch the face of the gods. Yes. Yeah. No. If you're a fan of the rom-com genre, I think you're really gonna like this.
Which
movie.
I am, frankly.
Yeah. This is
well done.
This is very much in the genre, in that tone, in that space. And again, like I said earlier, I think one of the strengths is, I think if you are of Chinese descent, if you're Chinese American, you'll definitely see some elements of that culture on the screen in ways that I've read in a lot of different reviews and in a lot of different pieces that I've seen on this film in a way that have not been represented in mainstream films before, which I think is a great step. I like that Hollywood is producing, it seems like a little more regularly, although not quite regularly enough, portraits of people that are outside of what was considered the mainstream. So I think that's an important step, and I think this movie succeeds largely because of that.
I think it accomplishes what it meant to accomplish, and that ultimately is how you need to assess a film.
Yeah.
What was it aiming to do? How well did it accomplish it? I think it accomplished it really pretty well. And the good news too, Dan, is that I think that we're opening the doors over the last couple of years more and more to the idea that audiences in general want to see stories about people we like and we care about.
Yeah.
Period.
So
here's another addition sort of to that theme that we've been seeing over the last few years, and I applaud it, and I hope you go see it and that you enjoy it this weekend. Let us know what you think in the comments below.
Yeah, thanks for watching. See you next time.